Hi, I'm Larry Puckett, the DCC guy. Today, I want to follow up on a previous video where I showed you these Bluepoint turnout controllers. And today what I want to do is show you how to set them up, prepare them for the installation, and then we'll go ahead and flip the layout up on its side and install several of these in the modules. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, before we get started, I want to ask you to take a second to subscribe. Click on the subscribe box, and when that comes up, click on the little bell right next to it and click all. That way you'll be notified every time that I upload a new video. Okay, so these, like I said, are the Bluepoint controllers that I said I was going to be using in this video. The reason I chose these for this particular project instead of using tortoise switch machines is, although they look similar to a tortoise and act similar to a tortoise, the big difference is these are manual. They're not electrically controlled, so you don't have to install push buttons and a control panel and all of that kind of stuff. I'll show you how we'll go about controlling these in the next video once, assuming that everything in my order from Walthers comes in with the push rods and all of the stuff that is required in order to activate these. But at any rate, the other great thing about these is because they are manual, they don't require an additional electrical source to operate them, but you will be able to control the polarity of the frog using this double pole, double throw switch here on the bottom. And in the next video, we will go ahead and solder up some of these connections to the double pole, double throw switch so we can control that frog polarity. Now, these are available in the US marketplace in individual packages like this. They also sell a package similar to this, only bigger, with 5 of these in it. And these sell for somewhere around, the ones with 5 I think are around $60, $70 for a pack, something in that range. And these are probably around $12 each, if I remember correctly. And the way I bought them is in this box of 10. And I got them from my Walthers dealer in Greenville, South Carolina, Blue Ridge Hobbies, for $110 for all 10 of them. So that works out to 11 bucks each. So it gives you a pretty good discount by buying a whole box of them. So what I want to do today, though, is go ahead, as I said in the opening, show you how to prepare these for use, because they do have this spring metal throw rod here that is used to control the points, and this has to be installed. It does not come installed. Similar to the tortoise, you have to install this guy first. So let's take a look quickly at how to go about doing that. So it's going to have to go in here, and it goes through the little hole here in the bottom of the throw rod. So let me zoom in a bit so we can see that. Now what I do then is just measure off a half inch or so here on the one end of the rod and give it a 90-degree bend. I actually bend it a little bit more than 90 because it makes it easier to install. Okay, but not much. Then this fulcrum here, as you can see, if I can make it move, it slides up and down. And that controls the tension of this piece of wire. It starts out up at the top in most cases, most of these I've seen, and you should leave it there for this installation. Makes it easier. Take the tip of the wire and just slide it right up through here. Okay? Then feed the end of the 90-degree bend through the hole here in the bottom of this throw rod, okay, so that you've got it coming out like that. Then all you do is take and support this blue plastic throw mechanism and then bend this guy back over it, like so. This is called a Z-bend, and what that does is it traps the wire in the end of that plastic throw mechanism. And then when you move it, let me bring this down. After I install it, I go ahead and bring these down to about halfway. And as you can see, the higher up this is, the less distance this throw rod throws. And the further down you get, let me put it down a bit, it has a much wider or longer throw, okay? And that controls the amount of tension on the points in your turnout. So that's how it works. Now once you've got that installed, go ahead and take your cutters, wire cutters, metal cutters, and give it a good cut and pop off any extra. And we're going to throw that away, okay? And that way, you know, you won't hook on things like your clothing when you're working under the layout. And like I said, I just start off with these at the midpoint, and then afterwards you can adjust it up or down depending on how much tension you want and need on your points. Now, the other day in the video where I mentioned these, I said that I had tested these with the Pico Electrofrog turnouts, and that it appeared as though that these had enough tension on them so that they would throw the points, even with the centerings or with the spring that comes installed on those Pico turnouts installed. Well, I installed one here on the layout, and being, you know, I always do one just to make sure, and sure enough, it didn't work. I think what it is with the 1/4-inch hole and a long throw, it just doesn't have enough room to move in this situation. It might work with the 3/8-inch hole, and I will try that on the next Pico turnout that I install. I'll go ahead and drill a 3/8-inch hole and see if a little bit longer throw distance allows it to control that mechanism. You know, that's something that be aware of. People have been removing the springs in those and microengineering turnouts for some time. And, you know, they work fine. If you're very careful about how you extract that, you won't do any damage to the turnout at all. In the instruction sheet, they give you a diagram for a template that you can build to make it easy to install these. And all I did was I just took a piece of 0.040 inch styrene and transferred the diagram that they provide to the piece of styrene and drilled holes in it. And it's important, put this centering line on it, and that's to allow you to center up with the direction of travel on your through your turnout, because you don't want it to be off one side or the other. It won't get a good throw. So these are, you know, quick, easy. You probably have some styrene laying around in your workroom that you can use for this, or just go out to the hobby shop and pick up a small piece of styrene to do that. You want something that's got a little thickness to it. This 040 seems to be fairly reasonable in that respect. And then all you have to do is you know, place this over the hole that you have drilled beneath the points in your baseboard, and put that on the bottom and then just go ahead and mark off the locations of these holes here. And these are the holes for the mounting screws. I go ahead and use this 1/8 inch drill bit to create pilot holes in the bottom of the plywood baseboard so that it'll be easier to insert the screws and get them started. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to take and flip the layout up on the sawhorses, and we'll take a look at how this process goes about underneath the layout. Okay, so let's go ahead, and we're going to start with installing this one right here. Now, I've got an oddball situation because I'm going to have two turnouts located one over top of the other here, as you can see. So what I'm going to do then is mount them so that one is facing one way and one is facing the other way. And that way, the two control arms and the throw mechanisms will not interfere with one another. If I put them like that, they obviously would. So that's one alternative you have, is to go ahead and offset them like that so that they will not interfere with one another here. And that will be the easiest way to do it, I think. Okay? So let's go ahead, and what I want to do is mark the location of these on here. And you'll notice I've drawn a line on the board here, on the bottom of our baseboard, that does allow me to get a feeling for the angle at which the main line is moving through here, in which the turnouts are set up. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to put this one so it's facing that direction, as I said. And we'll go ahead and line that up like that. And mark the locations for the holes. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and do this one up here as well. Get it down a little bit. Yeah, that's a better angle. And I think I'll do this one this way so that it doesn't interfere. Let me see. Well, we'll work around it. Let's see. Okay, that looks right. Okay, there. So we've got all three of those that we're going to install set up. And as you can see, I've already installed one of them here as a test, just to make sure. Now, I've already got my drill ready with the 1/8" bit, so let me go ahead and drill some holes. Okay, so we got that started. Now, for this, I'm using a number 4 by 1/2 inch metal screw. It doesn't work, it works fine in wood as well. And it's got a Phillips head, which I like using better than a flathead. So let's go ahead and install some of these in here. Set them here so I don't end up with them all over the floor. I'm just going to give these a quick start here. And I'm only going to put a couple of these in on the bottom because it interferes if you try to do all 4 of them. You can't do that very easily. Now, at this point, what you have to do is work from both sides at the same time. So I'm going to have to get up, work with one arm hanging over the bench and the other behind it. It's easier if you have 2 people doing this part of the task. And this is not a fun part because you have to, oh, got it on the first try. That's good. Now, one thing I can't show you, but I'm going to take a hemostat and clip it on the wire where it comes through the point. And that will hold it in place and keep it from falling back out until you do get the mounting screws set in and adjusted. With that in place, I'm going to go ahead and set these mounting screws in place and add 2 at the top before I start screwing them down. Okay, we've got those 2 in there. And I have a little motorized screwdriver here to help drive these in. Okay, I'm going to move this up and center it now and seat these couple of screws. One will hold it while you do the others. Okay, and that's all it is. And the mechanism that I'm going to be using to control these is a push rod type design that's used on radio-controlled sailplanes and aircraft and other things of that nature. And it will just go out to the front of the baseboard here and be mounted on the fascia so that we can control these turnouts. So let's go ahead and insert another one. Again, I'll go ahead and start a couple of screws. And these just make it easier to hold it in its place when you first get started. There we go. This one will go this way. Okay, that's going to stay in place, and I'll be working from the other side of the baseboard to get that wire in its proper location. There it is. Okay, clamp it in place with the hemostat. So we've got that one installed, and so let me go ahead and add the other two screws. And we'll get those seated a bit. Okay, I want to get one of them properly centered in place. Okay, there's a third one. Since we're on a roll, we might as well finish them off. Okay, we've got that inset. We've got that in there. Now let me drop this through here. There it goes. And we'll put it on these screws to hold it in place. Now I've got to go back over there and set the hemostat. Okay, let's see how this one's going to work. There, got it. That was a quick one. Sometimes you get lucky. Okay, get it set in place. Okay, now let's get it centered on. I'm hand tightening these because they are a little close to the edge on this upper section. Okay, so we've got all four of the turnouts in this section done. There will be another one added going down into the yard as soon as I start working on those turnouts. And there's another one to the right of where I'm working on here in this other adjacent panel that's already been installed. So I'm going to flip it up on its feet again, and we'll take a look at how these throw and how well they hold the points in place. And also we need to clip off the top of the wires where they protrude up through the points. So let me go ahead and get up there and get that straightened out. Okay, here are the three turnouts that we just installed the Bluepoint controllers in. What I want to do is first clip the hemostat on the top of one of them. And, okay, so these are a Xuron cutter. They are designed for cutting hardened steel materials like these springs are made of. Do not use your standard Xuron rail cutters like these. It will kill them, you know, it will dull them like crazy. It doesn't help these a lot, to be honest with you. This one, I've been using it to cut pieces of piano wire and hardened steel like this for some time, several years now, and it's getting to the point where it's about needing to be replaced. But I can still cut these here, so you can see the reason I'm holding this with the But the hemostat is to prevent it from flying up and ending up somewhere I don't want it. There we go. Put that there. And we'll get the others. There we go. Well, like I said, spring steel can be very hard stuff, and I just broke these pliers on it. Let's go ahead and give these heavier wire cutters a try. I think they'll do the job. They might not get it close enough, though, is the problem. There. So I'll have to trim that off later when I get a different set of wire cutters here. So you can see here that I'm throwing this one. I'll throw this one here. It's a little bit closer for you. And one over here. Hopefully on Friday we'll be able to install the controllers and push rods for the Blue Point switch machines. And we'll be able to go ahead and make the connections to the frogs so that the frogs will remain powered all the time and at the correct polarity. So that's all that I've got for today. Have a good week, and we'll see you here on Friday. Bye now.